My daughter-in-law brought a notary to steal my $1 million house. I'm Harold Wilson, and I should have seen this coming. She thought I was just a grieving old man after my heart surgery. Easy prey for her real estate scam. What Crystal didn't know was that her mobile notary was actually FBI agent David Brooks, my former bailiff who'd been investigating her fraud ring for 18 months. When she demanded I sign over my $1.2 million family home at our Memorial Day BBQ, I decided it was time to teach her about federal wire fraud laws. I simply asked to see the notary's credentials first. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. This is the story of how a family barbecue became a federal crime scene, how a woman who saw weakness discovered that 30 years on the federal bench teaches you to recognize every type of predator, and how sometimes the quietest person in the room holds all the power. Let me explain why Crystal Wilson thought I was the perfect target. 6 months earlier, I'd buried my wife Eleanor after 43 years of marriage. Cancer took her fast. The house felt empty. 3,000 square feet of memories and silence. Then came the heart surgery in March. Triple bypass. Dr. Patricia Miller at Presbyterian Hospital said I was lucky to survive. Crystal visited exactly once. She spent the entire time walking through rooms, taking photos for insurance purposes. Dad Harold, you shouldn't be living alone, she said, studying my kitchen granite countertops. This place is worth what now? Over $1 million? 1.2, actually. We bought it in 1994 for $180. She smiled. The predator smile I'd seen in courtrooms for decades. My son Michael worked construction. Good man, but Crystal had him fooled. Married 5 years, no kids yet. He thought his wife cared about my health. I knew better. Crystal started visiting weekly after my surgery, always with her phone, always taking pictures. She'd mention how confused I seemed, how I forgot conversations we'd never had. Maybe we should talk about your living situation, she'd say. Michael and I could help manage your finances. The first red flag came during a Tuesday visit in April. She brought documents. I found this great assisted living facility, she said, spreading brochures across my oak dining table. Sunset Manor, only $3,800 a month. I'm not going anywhere, Crystal. But what if something happens? What if you fall? What if you forget to take your medication? She had this way of speaking slowly, like I was a child, each word deliberate and condescending. I've been taking care of myself for 68 years. That was before the surgery, Dad Harold, before the grief. You're different now. Different? That word would echo in my head for weeks. The second red flag came in early May. I caught her in my study, photographing my financial documents. Just updating our family records, she said, not even looking embarrassed. That's when I made my first phone call to my old workplace. Not to some random courthouse employee, to people who mattered. Harold Wilson calling. Yes, it's been a while. Listen, I need some advice about suspicious legal documents. Crystal didn't know about that call. She didn't know about the conversations that followed. She saw a confused old man living alone in a valuable house. What she should have seen was a retired federal judge who'd spent 25 years watching criminals make the same mistakes over and over. But Crystal was confident. She'd done this before. I wasn't her first elderly target. The third red flag came the Friday before Memorial Day. She arrived with Michael for family planning. We've been thinking, Michael said, clearly rehearsed. Maybe it's time to sell the house. Get you somewhere safer. The market's perfect right now, Crystal added. I could handle the sale. No commission for family. I studied her face, the eager eyes, the slight tension around her mouth. Where would I live? That's the beautiful part, she said. You could move in with us temporarily, then find a nice retirement community. Michael nodded along. My own son, manipulated by this woman. I need time to think. Of course, Crystal said. Take all the time you need. But I could see the impatience, the calculation. She was running out of time for something. That weekend, I made my second call to the federal building, this time to someone very specific. David Brooks, Financial Crimes Division. David, it's Judge Wilson. Harold Wilson. Long pause. Judge Wilson. Sir, it's been what, 15 years? Something like that. Listen, I might need a favor. The house wasn't just real estate. It was everything. Eleanor and I had bought it in August 1994 with our life savings. $18,000 down payment on a $180,000 mortgage. I was making $42,000 as a new federal judge. We ate ramen for months, but we had a vision. Eleanor painted every room herself. I installed the oak floors, working weekends. We planted the maple tree in the front yard when Sarah was born. 30 years of mortgage payments. Every dollar accounted for. The final payment made in 2024, 2 months before Eleanor died. Now it was worth $1.2 million. Denver real estate had exploded. More importantly, it was Sarah's inheritance. My daughter, the nurse practitioner working double shifts at Children's Hospital. Single mother raising my 8-year-old grandson Tommy. She'd never be able to afford a house in this market. Grandpa Harold, will this always be our family house? Tommy had asked during my recovery. As long as I'm breathing, buddy. That promise meant everything. If Crystal succeeded, Tommy would lose his inheritance. Sarah would lose her security, and I'd lose the last connection to Eleanor. But the stakes went deeper than money. Friday night, I couldn't sleep. My chest hurt, but not from surgery, from rage. I walked through the house reviewing what Crystal didn't know. She didn't know about the $450,000 in my savings account, money from Eleanor's life insurance and careful investing over 4 decades. She didn't know about my mental competency evaluation from Dr. Miller. Crystal had suggested I was confused, so I'd gotten tested. Results: cognitive function of a 50-year-old. She didn't know about my conversation with Dr. Miller about Crystal's visits. She asks very specific questions about your mental state, Dr. Miller had said, questions that sound like someone building a legal case for incompetency. Most importantly, Crystal didn't know about David Brooks. David had been my bailiff from 1998 to 2008. Smart kid from Colorado Springs. Criminal justice degree, but he wanted federal law enforcement. I'd written his recommendation letter for the FBI Academy. You'll make a fine agent, I'd told him at his graduation. Just remember, the best cases come to those who wait. 15 years later, he was investigating financial crimes targeting the elderly. Judge Wilson, what exactly is your daughter-in-law planning? David had asked during our call. Document fraud, I suspect. She's been photographing my financial records, asking about power of attorney, mentioning my supposed confusion to family members. How long has this been going on? Since my heart surgery. She's building a case for incompetency. David was quiet for a moment. Sir, we've been investigating similar schemes. Real estate agents targeting elderly homeowners. The pattern fits. What pattern? Medical crisis creates vulnerability. Family member claims mental incompetence. Forged documents transfer property. House gets sold immediately, usually below market value to avoid scrutiny. My blood went cold. How many victims? In Colorado alone, 47 confirmed cases in the last 2 years. We've recovered $2.3 million so far. 47 elderly people. 47 families destroyed. Is Crystal Wilson part of your investigation? She's been on our radar. Real estate license, gambling problems, financial pressure. But we needed evidence of active fraud. What kind of evidence? Recorded conversations. Forged documents. Attempted notarization of fraudulent transfers. I understood immediately. You need her to commit the crime. We need her to attempt the crime with a federal witness present. What kind of federal witness? David chuckled. The kind that shows up when someone requests a mobile notary service. The plan crystallized. Simple, legal, elegant. Crystal would arrange the document signing. She'd hire a mobile notary through an online service. That notary would be Agent Brooks, working undercover. What do you need from me? I asked. Just be yourself, Judge. Document everything. Record conversations if it's legal in Colorado. And when she makes her move, let her dig her own grave. Exactly. That weekend, I prepared like I was building a federal case. Because I was. I gathered 30 years of property documents, Mortgage papers from 1994. Tax records showing every payment. Insurance policies proving mental competency. I installed a digital recorder in my study. Colorado is a one-party consent state. I documented Crystal's visits in a journal. Dates, times, conversations, photographs she'd taken. Most importantly, I called Sarah. Dad, what's going on? Your sister-in-law is planning something. I need you at the Memorial Day BBQ. What kind of something? The kind that ends with her in federal prison. The Tuesday before Memorial Day, Crystal made her move. She arrived at 2:30 p.m. with Michael, both of them serious, like they'd rehearsed this conversation. Dad, Harold, we need to talk, Michael said. They sat across from me at my kitchen table, the same table where Eleanor and I had planned our retirement. We're concerned about your decision-making, Crystal began. I hit record on my phone. What kind of decision-making? Well, for instance, you told Mrs. Anderson next door that someone was stealing your mail. Someone was stealing my mail, but the post office said there were no complaints filed, because I'd handled it myself. But I didn't correct her. And last week you couldn't remember our conversation about the assisted living tour, Crystal continued. We never had that conversation. See? That's exactly what I mean. Michael shifted uncomfortably. Dad, maybe you should consider some help. With finances, with decisions. What kind of help? Crystal leaned forward. A power of attorney. Temporary, just until you're fully recovered. Power of attorney for what? Medical decisions, financial decisions, real estate decisions. There it was. Who would have this power of attorney? Michael and I could share it, Crystal said. For your protection. Protection from what? From making mistakes. From people taking advantage of you. The irony was breathtaking. What mistakes have I made? Crystal exchanged a look with Michael. Well, keeping this big house, the maintenance costs alone must be $15,000 a year. $14,326 last year. She blinked. You remember that exactly? I remember everything exactly. But you couldn't remember our assisted living conversation? Because we never had one. Crystal's voice got harder. Harold, you're in denial. This house is too much for you. The neighborhood is changing. Property taxes are going up. Property taxes are $4,812 annually. That's a lot of money for someone on a fixed income. My income isn't fixed. Social Security and a small pension can't cover. I receive $4,200 monthly in federal retirement, plus investment income averaging $1,800 monthly, plus Eleanor's life insurance settlement. Crystal's face flushed. You don't need to get defensive. I'm not defensive. I'm factual. Michael tried to mediate. Dad, we're just trying to help. Help with what specifically? With managing your assets, Crystal said, before something happens. What kind of something? Cognitive decline, another medical emergency, financial exploitation. Who would exploit me financially? Silence. I mean, Crystal recovered, con artists, telemarketers, door-to-door scammers. Have any contacted me? Not yet, but... So you want power of attorney to protect me from hypothetical criminals? Harold, you're twisting my words. I'm repeating your words. Crystal stood up. This is exactly the problem. You're argumentative, suspicious, confused about simple conversations. Which conversations? The assisted living conversation. The one we never had. Michael looked between us. Maybe we should take a break. No, Crystal said. This needs to be settled. Harold, the truth is, you're not capable of managing a property this size anymore. Based on what evidence? Based on 3 months of watching you struggle with basic tasks. Name one basic task I've struggled with. Remembering to take your medication. I've never missed a dose. Paying bills on time. I've never paid a bill late in my life. Maintaining the house. I hired Morrison Landscaping for yard work and Peterson Handyman Services for repairs. Both businesses I've used for 12 years. Crystal was getting desperate. Harold, you live in the past. You can't accept that things have changed. What things? You. You've changed. The surgery changed you. Eleanor's death changed you. Finally, the truth. Changed me how? You're weaker, older, more vulnerable. Vulnerable to what? To making bad decisions. to being taken advantage of. By whom? She couldn't say it. Couldn't admit she was the predator. By anyone who sees an elderly man living alone in $1 million house. I stood up slowly. Crystal, in 30 years as a federal judge, I learned to identify criminals by their patterns. What's that supposed to mean? Criminals always accuse their victims of the crimes they're planning to commit. Michael looked confused. Dad, what are you talking about? Your wife is planning to steal this house. Crystal's face went white. That's insane. Is it? You've photographed my financial documents. You've told family members I'm incompetent. You've suggested I can't live independently. And now you want power of attorney over my real estate. I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to help yourself. To what? To my house. To my savings. To my son's inheritance. Michael stood up. Dad, that's enough. Son, your wife has an $80,000 gambling debt. Crystal's mouth fell open. She owes money to people who break legs for late payments. How do you know that? Because I did what any judge would do. I investigated. Crystal was shaking. You investigated me? I made some phone calls. To old friends. People who know how to find information. What kind of information? Bank records. Credit reports. Court filings from your previous real estate deals. Previous deals? The Henderson case in 2022, the Martinez case in 2023, elderly homeowners who signed documents they didn't understand. Crystal grabbed her purse. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. But you do have to listen to this. I'm hosting Memorial Day BBQ on Monday. Family only. You're welcome to bring your notary documents then. What notary documents? The ones you've been preparing. The power of attorney forms. The competency declarations. Bring them all. Why would I do that? Because it's time to settle this once and for all. Crystal looked at Michael. Your father is paranoid. Michael looked at me. Dad, are you sure about this? Son, some lessons are best learned in public. That evening I made my preparations. First, I called David Brooks. Judge Wilson, how did it go? She took the bait. Memorial Day, 2:30 p.m. She agreed to bring documents? She didn't agree, but she'll bring them. How can you be sure? Because she's desperate. $80,000 in debt, bookies pressuring her, and she's convinced I'm an easy mark. What's her timeline? Fast. She needs the house sold within 60 days to pay her debts. David was quiet. Sir, I need to ask, are you certain about this? She's family. David, she ceased being family the moment she decided to commit elder fraud. Understood. I'll set up the mobile notary service. Express Legal Services. Completely fake company, but professional website. What about backup? 2 agents in surveillance van, body cameras, full documentation. Good. One more thing. Yes, sir. She's going to claim I'm incompetent. Have Dr. Miller's competency evaluation ready. Already requested. Anything else? Yes. Bring handcuffs. Thursday morning, strange cars started appearing on my street. A cable repair van parked across from Mrs. Anderson's house. 2 men inside, never working on cables. A black sedan with government plates in the Miller's driveway. Mr. Miller was visiting his sister in Phoenix. Crystal noticed nothing. Thursday afternoon, she called. Harold, I've been thinking about our conversation. Which part? The part where you accused me of terrible things. I didn't accuse you. I stated facts. Those weren't facts. Those were paranoid delusions. Dr. Miller disagrees. What? My psychiatrist, Dr. Patricia Miller. She evaluated my mental state last week. You saw a psychiatrist? Federal judges maintain security clearances even after retirement. Annual mental health evaluations are required. What did she say? That my cognitive function is normal. My decision-making is sound, and my concerns about family members are rational and well-founded. Silence. Crystal, are you there? I'm here. Good. Bring that evaluation on Monday, along with your documents. What documents? The ones you've been preparing. Friday brought more visitors. My mailman, Jerry Peterson, 30-year postal employee, knocked on my door. Mr. Wilson, those federal agents asked me to tell you something. What agents? Jerry winked. The ones who've been watching your house. They said to tell you everything's in place. Thank you, Jerry. Mr. Wilson, can I ask you something? Sure. Is your daughter-in-law really trying to steal your house? What makes you ask that? Because she offered me $50 to confirm that you seem confused when I deliver mail. What did you tell her? I told her you're the sharpest person on this street. Always have been. Friday evening, Sarah called. Dad, what's really happening Monday? Your brother's wife is going to attempt document fraud. Document fraud? She's going to try to trick me into signing power of attorney papers. Can't you just refuse? I could, but then she'd try again with someone else, another elderly victim. There are other victims? 47 that we know of. We, the FBI and I. Dad, you're working with the FBI? Honey, I worked with the FBI for 25 years. Old habits. Is this dangerous? For Crystal? Very. For you? Not at all. I'll be surrounded by federal agents. Federal agents are coming to our barbecue? Well, one of them is bringing potato salad. Saturday morning, my final preparation. I called Michael. Son, I need you to invite some extra people Monday. Like who? Mrs. Anderson from next door, the Miller family, the Taylors from down the street. Why? Because what's going to happen Monday should have witnesses. Dad, what's going to happen Monday? Justice, son. Justice. That weekend, Crystal made her own preparations. Saturday evening, she posted on Facebook, Pray for my father-in-law, Harold. His dementia is getting worse. We might need to make some difficult family decisions soon. 17 likes, 12 concerned comments. Sarah screenshot the post and texted it to me. I forwarded it to David Brooks. He texted back, perfect evidence of premeditation. Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. Not from anxiety, from anticipation. 30 years on the federal bench teaches you patience, teaches you to build airtight cases, teaches you that justice, when it comes, is swift and final. Tomorrow, Crystal Wilson would learn what happens when you target the wrong elderly victim. Tomorrow, my family would learn why they call me Judge Wilson. Memorial Day arrived with perfect weather, 78 degrees, clear skies, light breeze. Eleanor would have loved it. I started grilling at noon, burgers, hot dogs, corn on the cob. The whole neighborhood could smell my barbecue sauce. Sarah arrived early with Tommy. Grandpa Harold, Mom says something important is happening today. Something very important, buddy. Is it good important or bad important? That depends on your perspective. By 1:30, my backyard was full. 23 family members, 6 neighbors. Mrs. Anderson brought her famous potato salad. The Taylors brought beer. The Millers brought their 2 kids. Perfect witnesses. Michael and Crystal arrived at 2:00 p.m. sharp. Crystal carried a large manila envelope. Harold, you've got quite a crowd here, she said, surveying the gathering. Memorial Day tradition. Eleanor started it in 1995. How nostalgic. Crystal seemed nervous. She kept checking her phone, glancing at the street. Are you expecting someone? I asked. Actually, yes. A notary. A notary? What for? For the documents we discussed, the power of attorney papers. The conversations around us gradually stopped. Family members turned to listen. What power of attorney papers? Sarah asked. Crystal's smile was forced. Just some legal housekeeping, to help your father manage his affairs. I manage my own affairs, I said calmly. Harold, we've been through this. You need help. Tommy tugged my shirt. Grandpa, what's power of attorney? It means giving someone else control over your house and money, buddy. Why would you do that? I wouldn't. Crystal's voice got louder. Harold, you're confusing the child. Am I, Crystal, or are you? My nephew David Taylor stepped closer. Uncle Harold, what's this about? Crystal believes I'm mentally incompetent. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I never said incompetent, Crystal protested. What word would you use? Diminished. Confused. In need of guidance. Sarah's voice was ice cold. Guidance from whom? From family who care about his welfare. Like you? Yes, like me. Mrs. Anderson, 84 years old and sharp as a razor, spoke up. Harold Wilson has been my neighbor for 30 years. His mind is clearer than most people half his age. Crystal turned to face her. With respect, Mrs. Anderson, you don't see him every day. Neither do you. I see him enough to notice the changes. What changes? Demanded Sarah. Crystal was getting flustered. The crowd was growing hostile. The forgetfulness, the confusion, the inability to make rational decisions. Like what decisions? Like refusing to consider assisted living, like insisting on keeping this oversized house. Tommy piped up. This is our family house. Crystal looked down at him. Honey, your grandfather can't afford this house anymore. Yes, he can, Tommy said. He told me he paid for it all by himself. Children don't understand adult finances. Neither do thieves, Mrs. Anderson muttered. Crystal spun around. Excuse me? You heard me. The tension was electric. 29 people watching. Waiting. Crystal's phone buzzed. She looked relieved. That's the notary. He's here. A professional-looking man in a gray suit approached our group. He carried a leather briefcase and official paperwork. Mrs. Wilson, I'm from Express Legal Services. You requested mobile notary service? Yes? Thank you for coming. What documents need notarization today? Crystal pulled papers from her manila envelope. Power of attorney transfer, medical decision authority, financial management authorization. The notary examined the papers. These are comprehensive documents. Mr. Wilson, do you understand what you're signing? I understand perfectly. And you're signing voluntarily? That remains to be seen. Crystal shot me a warning look. Harold, please don't be difficult. I'm being careful. 30 years as a federal judge teaches you to read documents thoroughly. The notary paused. You're a federal judge? Retired federal judge. Which district? Colorado District Court. Appointed 1992. Retired 2017. Crystal's face was pure panic. Harold, that's not relevant. Isn't it? You're asking a federal judge to sign legal documents without proper review. They're just family protection papers. No, they're not. I took the documents from the notary. Read aloud. Harold Wilson, being of diminished mental capacity, due to age-related cognitive decline and recent medical trauma, hereby grants full power of attorney to Crystal Marie Wilson for all real estate transactions, financial decisions, and medical choices. Gasps from the crowd. I never wrote that, Crystal stammered. Who did? The legal service. They draft standard language. Which legal service? I don't remember the name. You don't remember who prepared documents giving you control of my $1 million house? Harold, you're making this sound sinister. Am I? Let's see what else these papers say. I kept reading. In the event of Harold Wilson's death or incapacitation, all assets transfer immediately to Crystal Marie Wilson as primary beneficiary and estate executor. Sarah exploded. What the hell, Crystal? It's not what it sounds like. It sounds like you're stealing our father's house. Michael looked sick. Crystal, what is this? Insurance, protection, in case something happens to him. Protection for whom? I asked quietly. For the family. Which family? Our family. Crystal, my daughter and grandson are my family. You're just someone who married into it. The crowd was turning ugly. Angry murmurs. Protective glances toward me. Crystal was desperate now. Harold, you need help. You can't see it, but everyone else can. Can they? Mrs. Anderson, do I need help? The only help you need is getting rid of her. Mr. Taylor, do I seem confused? Sharp as ever, Harold. Sarah, do I have diminished mental capacity? You have the clearest mind in this family. Crystal was cornered. You're all enabling him. He's sick. He's incompetent. Someone needs to take control before he loses everything. Loses everything to whom? I asked. To scammers, to con artists, to people who prey on the elderly. The irony was breathtaking. People like who, Crystal? Like real estate fraudsters. What do you know about real estate fraud? I know it happens. I know elderly people get tricked into signing papers they don't understand. Papers like these? No, these are legitimate family protection documents. Are they? Mr. Brooks, what's your professional opinion? The notary smiled. Well, Mrs. Wilson, since you asked. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a gold badge. FBI Special Agent David Brooks, Financial Crimes Division. And these documents constitute attempted elder fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Crystal's world collapsed in that moment. The color drained from her face. Her hands started shaking. 29 witnesses watched her realize she'd been caught. "This is entrapment!" she screamed. "No, ma'am," Agent Brooks said calmly. "This is justice." The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 29 people staring at Crystal. One FBI agent, one retired federal judge, and the sound of a woman's world crashing down. "Your FBI?" Crystal whispered. "Special Agent David Brooks, Financial Crimes Division, Denver Field Office." But you're a notary." "No, ma'am. I'm an undercover federal agent investigating elder fraud." Crystal looked at me with pure hatred. "You set me up. I documented a crime in progress." "What crime? I was trying to help you." Agent Brooks opened his briefcase fully. Inside, recording equipment, federal warrants, and an 18-month investigation file. "Mrs. Wilson, you're under investigation for wire fraud, elder abuse, forgery, and conspiracy." "That's impossible." "Is it? Let me read from your communications." Brooks pulled out printed emails, read aloud. "Email to Jennifer Martinez, April 15th, 2024. Found another target. Old judge, recent widower, heart surgery. House worth 1.2 mil. Should be easy." Crystal's face went white. "Email to Marcus Rodriguez, April 22nd. Need forged medical evaluation showing dementia. Same doctor template as Henderson case." Michael stepped away from his wife. "Crystal, what is this?" Email to Patricia Santos, May 10th. Booked mobile notary for Memorial Day. Wilson will sign everything. Too proud to admit confusion. The crowd was stunned. Sarah looked like she wanted to murder someone. "Mrs. Wilson," Brooks continued, "you're part of a real estate fraud ring that has stolen $2.3 million from 47 elderly victims across Colorado. I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you? Let's discuss the Henderson case." Brooks pulled out another file. "Margaret Henderson, age 73, widowed, living alone in Lakewood. You convinced her she had dementia, forged power of attorney, sold her house for $300,000 below market value." "I never—" "Or the Martinez case. Eduardo Martinez, age 79, Alzheimer's diagnosis. You forged his daughter's signature on estate documents, stole his $400,000 home." Michael looked sick. "Crystal, is this true?" "It's lies. Government lies." "Mrs. Wilson," I said quietly, "I spent 25 years as a federal judge. I know the difference between lies and evidence." "You're not a judge anymore." "No, but I still know a criminal when I see one." Crystal was panicking. "Harold, this is insane. I'm your family." "You're a predator who married into my family." "I love Michael." "You love Michael's inheritance." Agent Brooks continued reading evidence. Bank records show Crystal Wilson deposited $43,000 in March 2024, immediately after the Henderson house sale. That was a legitimate real estate commission. From a house sale where you forged the seller's signature? "I didn't forge anything." Brooks held up documents. "Handwriting analysis confirms you forged Margaret Henderson's signature on power of attorney papers." "Handwriting analysis can be wrong. Video surveillance cannot. We have footage of you signing Henderson's name at Commerce Bank." Crystal was trapped. The evidence was overwhelming. "Furthermore," Brooks said, "we have recordings of your conversations with Harold Wilson." "What recordings?" "Colorado is a one-party consent state. Judge Wilson has been recording your visit since April." "That's illegal." "No, ma'am. It's evidence." Brooks pulled out a digital recorder, pressed play. Crystal's voice filled the backyard. "Harold, you're weaker, older, more vulnerable to making bad decisions, to being taken advantage of." Then my voice. "By whom?" Crystal again. "By anyone who sees an elderly man living alone in a $1 million house." The crowd was riveted, hearing the predator's own words. Brooks stopped the recording. "Mrs. Wilson, that's textbook elder fraud psychology. Isolation, vulnerability assessment, dependency creation. I was trying to help him. By stealing his house? By protecting him. From whom? From con artists." The irony was painful. Sarah started laughing. Not humor, pure disbelief. Crystal, Sarah said, you are the con artist. I'm family. No, Michael said quietly. You're a criminal. That broke something in Crystal. She turned vicious. You're all idiots. Harold is senile. He can't manage money. He can't live alone. Someone needs to take control. Someone like you? I asked. Yes, someone like me. I'm the only one here who understands real estate. I'm the only one who knows what this house is worth. What's it worth, Crystal? 1.2 million. And what's your gambling debt? That's none of your business, Agent Brooks answered. $83,416 owed to 3 different illegal bookmakers. How do you... Federal investigation, Mrs. Wilson. We've been tracking your finances for 18 months. Crystal realized she was completely exposed. No escape, no lies left. Fine, she screamed. Yes, I need money. Yes, I owe people. Yes, Harold's house could solve my problems, but that doesn't make me a criminal. Actually, I said, it does. How? Because you attempted to commit wire fraud against a federal judge. You're retired. Federal judges never really retire, Crystal. We just moved to emeritus status. Agent Brooks smiled. Judge Wilson, would you like to explain federal sentencing guidelines for elder fraud? Certainly. Wire fraud targeting elderly victims carries a minimum 10-year sentence. Add forgery, conspiracy, and RICO violations, and you're looking at 25 years federal time. Crystal collapsed into a patio chair. 25 years? Minimum, if you cooperate. Cooperate how? Names, addresses, financial records, every victim you've targeted. And if I don't cooperate? Life sentence. The reality hit her. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was federal prison. Michael walked over to his wife. Crystal, how long has this been going on? Michael, I can explain. How long? She couldn't answer. Agent Brooks answered. The fraud ring has been operating since 2019. Your wife joined in 2022. Michael looked devastated. 3 years. You've been stealing from elderly people for 3 years. I needed money. For what? For us. For our future. For a house. By stealing someone else's house? Crystal had no answer. Mrs. Anderson spoke up. Young lady, I'm 84 years old. I've seen every type of criminal. But someone who preys on elderly people? That's the lowest form of human being. The crowd murmured agreement. Crystal looked around desperately. No support, no sympathy. 29 people who now saw her for what she really was. Agent Brooks, I said, I believe you have a warrant? Yes, sir. He pulled out official papers. Crystal Marie Wilson, you're under arrest for wire fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, and forgery. As he read her Miranda rights, Crystal made one last desperate attempt. Harold, please, I'm sorry, I made mistakes, but I'm family. No, Crystal, family protects each other. You're a predator. I can change. Federal prison will give you plenty of time to work on that. Agent Brooks handcuffed her gently but firmly. Mrs. Wilson, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. As they walked toward the FBI surveillance van, Crystal turned back once. This isn't over, Harold. Yes, I said quietly. It is. The FBI van pulled away at 3:47 p.m. Crystal Wilson, real estate fraud specialist, was now federal prisoner number pending. My backyard was silent except for birds and distant traffic. 28 family members and neighbors processed what they had just witnessed. Tommy broke the silence. Grandpa Harold, was that lady really trying to steal our house? Yes, buddy, but she failed. Because you're smarter than her? Because I had help from good people. Agent Brooks returned from the van, professional but relaxed now. Judge Wilson will need your statement for the record. Of course. How long have you been watching her? 18 months. Your call accelerated our timeline. Good. What happens next? A Crystal Wilson will be processed at the Denver Federal Detention Center. Initial hearing tomorrow morning. Federal magistrate will deny bail given flight risk. Sarah stepped forward. Agent Brooks, how many people did she steal from? 47 confirmed victims, combined losses of $2.3 million. Will they get their money back? We've recovered $1.8 million so far. Asset forfeiture will cover most of the remainder. Michael looked broken. Agent Brooks, what about me? Did I break any laws? Mr. Wilson, our investigation shows you had no knowledge of your wife's activities. You're a victim here, not a perpetrator. What kind of victim? Identity theft. She used your name on several forged documents. We'll help you clear your credit and legal standing. Mrs. Anderson had questions. Agent Brooks, how did this fraud ring operate? Sophisticated organization. They targeted elderly homeowners recovering from medical procedures, used social media to identify vulnerable targets, forged medical evaluations claiming dementia or incompetency, rushed property transfers before families could intervene. How did they choose victims? Hospital discharge records, obituary notices for spouses, real estate databases showing single elderly owners. Tommy was fascinated. Like detectives? But bad detectives? Agent Brooks smiled. Exactly. Bad detectives. And Grandpa Harold is like a good detective? Your grandfather is one of the best judges I've ever worked with. I felt a warmth I hadn't experienced since Eleanor died. Agent Brooks, what's Crystal's likely sentence? With cooperation, 15 to 20 years. Without cooperation, life sentence. Will she cooperate? Usually do when facing life in prison. Good. And the other ring members? 6 arrests planned for tomorrow morning. Coordinated raids across Colorado. This investigation's the largest elder fraud bust in state history. Sarah hugged me. Dad, I'm proud of you. For what? For protecting yourself. For protecting other elderly people. For getting justice. Michael was quiet, processing betrayal and shame. Dad, I'm sorry. I should have seen this. Son, con artists specialize in deception. She fooled professional investigators for months. But I lived with her. I should have known. What would you have looked for? Stacks of stolen money? Forged documents labeled fraud evidence? Agent Brooks nodded. Mr. Wilson, your wife maintained perfect operational security. Separate bank accounts, encrypted communications, false business records. Even her co-conspirators didn't know her real identity. Her real identity? Crystal Wilson is an alias. Her legal name is Margaret Crystal Hoffman. 3 previous arrests for financial fraud in Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. Michael stared. I've been married to someone named Margaret? For 5 years, yes. I never knew her real name. Criminals change identities frequently. New names, new backgrounds, new personality traits. What else didn't I know about her? She has 2 previous marriages under different names. Both ended with elder fraud charges. Michael sat down heavily. I'm an idiot. No, I said firmly. You're a victim. Mrs. Anderson brought perspective. Young man, my husband was fooled by a door-to-door scammer in 1987. Lost $3,000 to a fake driveway repair company. Smart people get fooled by professional criminals. Tommy had more questions. Agent Brooks, will Grandpa Harold have to go to court? Yes, but as a witness, not a defendant. He'll testify about Crystal's attempted fraud. Will it be scary? Not for your grandfather. He spent 25 years in federal courtrooms. Will the bad lady be there? She'll be there in handcuffs. Agent Brooks gathered his equipment. Judge Wilson, thank you for your cooperation. This case will save dozens of elderly people from becoming victims. Agent Brooks, thank you for excellent police work. Sir, you made this case. Your documentation, your recordings, your tactical patience, that's what built our prosecution. Old habits. Good habits. As Agent Brooks left, the extended family began cleaning up the barbecue, normal Memorial Day activities resuming after extraordinary circumstances. But something had fundamentally changed. I wasn't just Harold Wilson, grieving widower anymore. I was Judge Harold Wilson, protector of the vulnerable. The family saw me differently now, with respect instead of concern, with pride instead of pity. Sarah stayed late to help clean up. Dad, what happens to Michael? He'll heal. He's strong like his mother. And you? I'm fine, honey. Are you really fine? I considered the question. For the first time since Eleanor died, yes. I feel useful again. You've always been useful. I've been surviving. Today I remembered what it feels like to serve justice. Will you miss it? Miss what? The excitement, the investigation, working with FBI agents. I smiled. Sarah, I'm 68 years old. I've had enough excitement. But if another crystal showed up, then I'd handle it the same way. How? Patiently, carefully, and with federal backup. Tommy ran up with a question. Grandpa Harold, can we have barbecue again next week? Why? Because this was the best barbecue ever. Because of the FBI agents? Because the bad lady can't steal our house anymore. Out of the mouths of babes. Yes, buddy, we can have barbecue next week. Will there be more bad guys to catch? I hope not. But if there are, then we'll catch them too. The Denver Post ran the story Tuesday morning. Federal judge helps FBI bust elder fraud ring. Front page above the fold with my photograph from 2017. The article detailed everything. Crystal's arrest, the 18-month investigation, 47 victims, $2.3 million recovered. But the story went deeper. By Wednesday, 3 more victims had contacted FBI with additional evidence. By Friday, investigators had identified 62 total victims across 4 states. Crystal Wilson, Margaret Crystal Hoffman, was the linchpin of the largest elder fraud operation in Rocky Mountain region history. Channel 7 News interviewed me Thursday evening. Judge Wilson, what would you tell other elderly people who might be targeted by similar scams? Trust your instincts. If family members suddenly claim you're incompetent, ask for independent medical evaluation. If anyone pressures you to sign legal documents quickly, refuse. And remember, real family protects your interests, not their own. What made you suspicious of your daughter-in-law? Timing. She showed no interest in my welfare until my house became valuable and I became vulnerable. How did you know to contact the FBI? I didn't contact the FBI initially. I contacted former colleagues for advice. They connected me with Agent Brooks. What advice do you have for families? Watch for sudden changes in elderly relatives' legal or financial situations. Be suspicious of anyone who claims your loved one needs immediate power of attorney. And remember, cognitive decline doesn't happen overnight. And the interview aired Friday at 6 p.m. By Monday, I'd received 47 phone calls. Elderly people reporting suspicious behavior from family members. Adult children concerned about their parents' sudden legal document changes. Real estate agents who'd witnessed questionable transactions. Agent Brooks visited Tuesday. Judge Wilson, your interview triggered a flood of tips. Good tips? Excellent tips. We've identified 3 additional fraud rings operating in Colorado. How many additional victims? Potentially hundreds. What do you need from me? Your expertise. The FBI wants to create an elder fraud task force. Would you consider consulting? I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Yes. Part-time position, review cases, interview suspects, advise on prosecution strategy. When do I start? Next Monday. That afternoon, Sarah called. Dad, I saw the news interview. You looked good. I felt good. Mom would be proud. I hope so. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you just call the police when you first suspected Crystal? Because local police don't handle complex financial crimes, and because I needed federal evidence for federal charges. But you risked everything. What if she'd succeeded? She couldn't succeed. I had too much documentation, too many witnesses, and too much legal knowledge. But still, Sarah, your mother died believing I'd spent my life serving justice. I wasn't going to let some 2-bit criminal make her wrong. Crystal's trial began 6 weeks later. Federal court, Denver. Same courthouse where I'd served for 25 years. I testified for 4 hours. Detailed her attempted fraud, her psychological manipulation, her calculated targeting of elderly victims. The jury deliberated 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Federal sentencing guidelines, 22 years, no possibility of parole. Judge Patricia Martinez delivered the sentence. Mrs. Hoffman, you preyed systematically on elderly Americans during their most vulnerable moments. You stole not just money, but dignity, security, and peace of mind from people who deserved protection, not exploitation. Your crimes represent a particularly cruel form of theft, stealing from those who built our communities, raised our families, and earned their security through decades of hard work. This court sentences you to 22 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised probation. You will also pay full restitution to all victims. Crystal showed no emotion. Professional criminals rarely do. But justice was served. Michael filed for divorce the day after sentencing. Dad, I need to start over. You should. Will you help me? However I can. I need to understand how I got fooled. You got fooled because you loved someone who didn't exist. How do I avoid it happening again? Trust your family's judgment. Listen when people who love you express concerns. You tried to warn me. I tried to show you evidence. You weren't ready to see it. I am now. The Elder Fraud Task Force launched in September. Federal task force combining FBI agents, retired judges, elder care advocates, and financial crime specialists. Our mission: identify fraud patterns, educate vulnerable populations, and prosecute predators. In our first 3 months, we've arrested 12 fraud ring operators, recovered $4.2 million in stolen assets, prevented an estimated $8 million in attempted fraud, educated over 2,000 elderly Colorado residents about scam prevention. More importantly, we've changed the conversation about elder abuse. It's not shameful to be targeted by sophisticated criminals. It's not embarrassing to ask for help. It's not weakness to verify legal documents. Tommy, now 9, has become the neighborhood elder fraud education specialist. Mrs. Anderson, if anyone brings a notary to your house, call Grandpa Harold first. Mr. Taylor, don't sign any papers unless Grandpa Harold looks at them. Eleanor would have laughed at that. Her husband, the retired federal judge, getting legal advice filtered through a 9-year-old. But Tommy understands something important. Justice isn't just about punishing criminals. It's about protecting the vulnerable. 1 year later, everything changed. The house feels alive again. Sarah visits twice weekly with Tommy. Michael brings his new girlfriend, Jennifer, a pediatric nurse who treats elderly patients with genuine respect. Mrs. Anderson drops by for coffee every Thursday. We discuss neighborhood watch strategies and review suspicious visitor reports. The Miller family includes me in their Sunday dinners. 3 generations around one table, sharing stories and protecting each other. This Memorial Day, we hosted 53 people. Agent Brooks brought his wife and daughters. Judge Martinez attended with her family. Dr. Miller came with her grandchildren. The barbecue lasted until sunset. No criminals, no fraud attempts, no fear, just community. The Elder Fraud Task Force continues growing. We've trained over 5,000 elderly Coloradans in scam recognition, prevented an estimated $15 million in fraud attempts, prosecuted 37 predators. But the real victory isn't numbers. It's confidence. Elderly people calling us when something feels wrong. Families asking questions instead of accepting explanations. Communities watching out for vulnerable neighbors. Banks reporting suspicious transactions. A culture that protects rather than exploits. Tommy turned 10 last month. For his birthday, he requested a tour of federal court. Grandpa Harold, I want to see where you worked. Why? Because you help good people and catch bad people. That's what judges do. Can I be a judge someday? You can be anything you want, buddy. I want to be like you. Eleanor would have loved hearing that. After her death, I thought my useful life was over. I was wrong. Experience doesn't diminish with age. It accumulates. Wisdom doesn't fade with retirement. It crystallizes. Purpose doesn't end with grief. It evolves. Crystal Wilson taught me something unexpected. Predators see elderly people as easy targets. They're wrong. We're not easy targets. We're experienced survivors who've learned to recognize danger, document evidence, and fight back strategically. We're not vulnerable. We're connected to networks of support, legal resources, and protective systems. We're not alone. We're part of communities that value our contributions and defend our rights. The message is simple. Respect is earned through character, not demanded through manipulation. Those who've lived longest often understand most clearly, and sometimes the quietest person in the room holds all the power. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from, because every voice matters in the fight against elder fraud. Every story shared protects another potential victim. Every boundary established makes predators think twice. Together, we're building a culture where experience is respected, wisdom is valued, and justice is served. Welcome to that fight.